Hai, Assalamualaikum semua. Apa khabar? Kita ada 8 minit lagi ya. So, hari ini kita ada Dr. Madya sebagai presenter untuk supervising for the postgraduate student for the science and technology medicine students. So, for your information, kita juga ada live dekat Facebook, di Facebook IPSis ya. Kalau you buka dengan Facebook IPSis sekarang, saya rasa tengah-tengah live. So, if you have a colleagues from outside of UiTM or students, please let them know that we also have a live dekat our IPSis page, so they can follow from IPSis page. Okay, Assalamualaikum. Boleh saya mulakan dulu And then after this, I will pass to Dr. Madya for the her session. So my name is Aman Muhammad Ehsan bin Muhammad. I'm head for the postgraduate studies for the UiTM. Boleh dengar my voice? Tak ada masalah Okay ke? Okay, yeah. Sebab saya dekat luar. Okay. Alright. I will begin the presentation not more than 10 minutes, just to give you a brief idea of what we have the data right now, and then after that I pass to Dr. Madya. Okay, so the webinar session today is supervising of the postgraduate student for the medicine's medicine cluster. So this is our current postgraduate students enrollment. New intake student for each year. Bear in mind that in 2019 we are the highest number of the new intake student for postgraduate studies in Malaysia. So we are not just the highest number for the postgraduate undergraduate student, but as well for the postgraduate students. So this should be reflected to the supervisors ratio for the UiTM as well. But if you look in the bigger picture, that currently the ratio is about 1-to-1, where we have about 8,000 of the staff, and then the current enrollment is about 10,000. Okay, this is a new intake student for by each faculty. So I believe that you have seen this data before, and then you can refer from which faculty you are, and then as well, if you are supervising the student, where are they now? Okay. So this is a research timeline for the student from the date of the registrations. After the registration, 6 months for master student full-time to do the DRP, and then 12 months for the PhD student to do the DRP. And then after that, if they are required to do the research ethic, they have to submit the research proposal and then the research ethic forms to the faculty, and then the faculty to the ethics committee of the UiTM to evaluate whether they are in the risk or high risk ethics. And then if the low risk, which is about the data collection with the survey, something like that, and then they don't need to be presented at the UiTM level. And then after that, the student will take the data, and then after that, about 12 months after the DRP, the student will submit the thesis, and then after that, the assessment process will happen. So which is we expect about 6 months for the student to be endorsed by Senate to end their study. So during the evaluation period, the examiners are given 6 weeks to evaluate the thesis, and then the faculty is given about 10 weeks to conduct the viva for the students. And then after that, we expect about 1 month for the minor correction for the student to do the corrections of the thesis, and then do the thesis submissions. And then this is numbers of the students who are not conducting the DRP yet. Okay, so you can refer, and then you can reflect to your students. And then this is the number of students who have done conduct the viva for this year, and then number of students who are still pending for the viva voce, who has submitted the thesis. If you are being appointed as the examiner, please be hurry up, because our session new semester will begin in the next month, 12th of the October. So I say you there is no lecture being conducted now, and then I think you can focus for evaluating of the student's thesis. And then this is number of students doing the minor corrections. And then bear in mind, for your information, the next convocation will be happen in November. Okay, but the convocation in November will be catered for the previous convocation, which was pending due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the student who still can submit the thesis, the formatted thesis in the digital form to IPSis until December 2020. And then there will be convo during the in the next convo, which is in April or March or April. Okay, but this coming convocation, which is will be happen in November, is for the postponed convocations. So this is a major correction for the student. So please, if you are supervising the student now and they do the correction, please push the student to do the correction as soon as possible. So this is number of graduates that we have as for July. For 2019, we have about 238. For 2020, we have only about 105. This is a little bit nervous for me because the Myra score for the next year will be very, very low for the section D for quality for postgraduate students. If the number of the PhD graduate is still not improving much, or we have less than 200 graduates. So our target for this year is about 300, so that we can exceed the Myra score for this year. And then this is for the IJOT score for 2020 for PhD. We still lack, which is about 30%, and then 9% for the master students. So untuk borang maklum balas kehadiran, tolong isikan yang ini. Please scan this barcode ya. This QR code. Please scan semua. I hold on sekejap. Okay. And then a little bit introduction to our speaker today. So our speaker is Dr. Madya, Associate Professor Dr. Madya Justine. She has graduated 4 PhD students and 9 master students for both main supervisor and as well co-supervisor. Currently, 4 PhD students are active under her supervision and 7 master student active student for master student. So she has published large numbers of publication where you can refer at the Google Scholar and as well from the Scopus Index. So I think that's all for my introduction. So I will leave this session and then we'll come back for the closing up. Yeah, because I have to go for another webinar. Okay, webinar meeting. So any question you can ask regarding to the supervision. You can ask Dr. Madya later, but with the management things you can spare for my closing. Yeah. Okay. Semua dah scan? Can I hover this to Dr. Madya now?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr.
Okay, Dr. Madya, welcome.
Okay, let me try and share the slide.
Yeah.
Okay, can everyone see? Okay, I was given this assignment to share about supervising postgraduate research with, I think the listeners are mostly novice supervisors. I also can see a few, actually they are very experienced supervisors, so probably can also towards the end share their experience with us because most of us here are novice supervisors, because I remember 5 years ago, a few years ago, more than 5 years ago, our academic advisor from Hong Kong who came to evaluate our program, and he also a guy he actually evaluated me as well, and he was saying that I am very inexperienced, so I actually need guidance in supervising students, so along the way, probably after many years, I have probably sort of a bit of experience in supervising PhD and postgraduate students. Okay, so what I'm going to share today is basically is my based on my personal experiences, and also I actually adapted the 11 practices suggested by the University of Melbourne in the best practices in supervising research students. All right, so these are the contents of my presentation. So basically, when uh, the process of supervising or supervisions, we can actually divide into three phases. The first phase is the foundations or the early phase, right? And then the momentum or the middle phase of our relationship with our students, and of course the final stages. Right. So first, before we move on, we need to understand or be able to define what is supervision. So supervision is an activity undertaken by someone occupying a formal role within and defined by the in our case is by IPSis, and it has explicit expectations and accountabilities to both the students as well as the supervisors. Okay, so in the supervision, so in the appointment of supervisors, in searching for the right supervisor, is actually the roles of IPSis as well as the Office of Graduate Studies in the faculty to approve the supervisor, and also to check for the quality, to control the quality of the supervision. And things that need to be taken into account is like, having a supervisory committee for students. uh, Supervisor knows the how students can appeal, evaluations, all this process. The supervisors appointed need to really well versed of the process in the supervision. Okay, so Pearson and Bruce define supervision in the academic context as a process to facilitate the student becoming an independent researcher and scholar in their field, capable of adapting to various research arenas, whether in the university or in when they are back in the industry. So that is actually a process where we facilitate or we help the students to become an independent researcher. All right, so this is the first best practice as pointed out by the University of Melbourne. Is to ensure the partnership is right for the project. So first, our first meeting with the students, we need to ask ourselves, whether we have adequate disciplinary background to advise the potential student, or if is the project likely to head into academic terrain that is very unfamiliar to us, or to you. We have to ask ourselves whether we have strong expertise in the methodological approach in the project required by the project, suggested by the students or suggested by us. Okay, we have to ask ourselves whether we are really interested with the proposed study, because normally when the first time meeting with your students, they will actually come with their ideas, or when they come to you, you ask them, okay, what do you want to do? What is your idea? What research is that you are interested in, So, but when we listen to their ideas, we also have to ask ourselves whether we are actually interested in their proposed study. Okay, in what way does it relate to our own research interests? Okay, because many times students, when they come to you, actually my earlier years when I started supervising students, those days, about 10 years ago, in my faculty, we don't have many PhD holders, so whatever students that come to you, they will park under you, regardless of their background, But yes, that is the challenge, because your interest and the students' interest is actually is different. Okay, and when you are supposed to supervise students, you have to know whether you have other commitments, For example, like sometimes you want to have so many students, you like to supervise students, but you have other commitments, you are as the dean of the faculty, you have many other commitment, family commitment. Of course, we don't relate with family commitments, basically you relate with your
your
commitment in the
commitment in the
university.
university.
No, I can hear echo, because you have to be you have to do justice to your students. I happened to be the KPPS for almost 5 years, 2011 to 2015, when the students I look after all the students, okay, regardless of the departments, and they always come to you and complaining to you that it's very difficult to meet to see their supervisors because the supervisors have other commitments, so we have to be consider our time with the students, and also you have to do justice to the students. Okay, and also you need to consider whether some students, they come to you with a very great idea, very futuristic studies, but we have to think whether we have enough resources to support the project of the students. I also encountered students that came to us, many years ago, with this very good idea of research, but we don't have the resources.